include specifically this call in Discord only and not all of the other content that we've put up before. So thanks for helping us sort through a new workflow, and that looks to be recording, so we are live. Welcome, everyone.
Hey, everybody.
Hi there, this is Austin, just checking in.
Hi there, this is Mal Burns checking in also.
Okay, I think I fixed my mic now. There we go.
Yeah, my computer's crashed, so I think you can still hear me, but no, I'll be right back.
Okay. Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
Oh no, Jesse's having some serious issues.
As sometimes we do, technical difficulties happen to the best of us, but it's great to see all of you here today. I don't know if we have any new people here who are first timers, but we often like to kick off by giving those of us who are new or maybe haven't had a chance to introduce themselves a moment to say hi and tell us a little bit about yourselves.
This is Morpheus. Haven't been here for a couple weeks. Been working on my project called Collar Quest. Just a play to earn. I'm not going to put the word metaverse there until interoperability happens in the future. So I'm here to learn.
Welcome. Alright, well, let's get this kicked off then. So it looks like first on the agenda we have the environment. Did we talk about this last week? This thing staying over from last week. It says discuss OMI space to meet and play. It's linked to the wrong thing though. Unless we talked about it earlier.
I think we put it on the agenda for this week.
Okay. Because we've talked about wanting to share out the OpenSim world that that's been built, and then other virtual worlds that we can meet in the different platforms.
And ways to start, even if simply linking them up. But one of the first things I think we need to think about is where we could maybe establish a repository or an area of a current repository, so that those of us who want to make that available directly in the OMI group area can place it there rather than placing it in our personal spaces. So I'm hoping one of the things we can come out with is that there'll be a definite place, OMI spaces somewhere on the repository.
Yeah, I'd love to get a section on our website to show this off too. I think we could have like a spaces or I don't know what the term would be, but all the different places where we have virtual worlds.
I think that's a good idea because otherwise things get split all over Discord or elsewhere. So bringing them all together as a link, and to some extent they can just be filtered and edited later, but at least it gets it started, doesn't it?
exactly. What other? So we've got the OpenSim one. I think. Well, I mean, we've had multiple hubs worlds in the past. We don't have our own hubs cloud server for that. Are there other virtual worlds that people would like to have OMI specific spaces for? In the past, we've also done like a VR chat booth. That was for VCAT.
Actually, I was gonna say if you've done something in VR chat, maybe push something to cluster, just to do it. Like I haven't put anything on. I haven't published a world on VR chat, so I don't even know how you publish worlds. But cluster.
Yeah, I think what we had created for VR chat was just a booth for the VCAT world. So I think.
Oh, I gotcha. That they put
Yeah.
in their greater world. That way you don't have to, make a whole world idea concept. I gotcha.
Yeah, I wonder
Yeah.
if we can move it to something a little bit smaller because the VCAT worlds are quite large.
Maybe
It's kind of hard to find the booth. Maybe we
find
could start
all,
with something small.
like get all the different metaverse groups together that are, that are suit and tie style, and maybe like build off the OMI OpenSim type thing and see if you can get more of the groups. If there are, I don't know.
That's absolutely doable tomorrow. We just need to make sure it's on the sort of agenda because we have that conversation set up with other groups and companies tomorrow from 9:30 to 11:30. So Robert, let's put a bookmark in that to try and include that in the conversation as far as ways for even, companies like Mozilla as well as Microsoft and others who could participate by providing server support. Amazon, other companies could certainly provide that to OMI.
Yeah.
They can make a little booth with little hard drives you can take home virtually.
I think this is where we do want to lean on our allies who work inside great companies who can provide free resources, ideally, for a community organization to do the R&D lifting, because that seems like a reasonable request. It just needs to be structured in a way that could support mutual participation, I think, across the board.
Yeah, we have a ticket related to this. It's called OMI Space to Meet, Work, and Play. Number 51.
I don't think it actually is 51. I think it's. I don't know. This one links to a
goof up. Whoops. Thank you. Some of the original thoughts that were really exciting too were trying to kind of not necessarily brute force interoperability, but demonstrate we could demonstrate world hopping or what the value proposition of interoperability might be by simply making portals from a hub space to a frame space to a crypto voxel space, etc., right? OpenSim, etc. And but the secondary part was to also have a place that we can hack in and to test our GLTF extensions and maybe have some of our meetings, our demo nights in a space. So those types of value propositions behind it, I think, still ring true. Mm-hmm. We don't have to pick one, and we have experienced our own booths, as was mentioned previously. The booth that was made for us in VCAT was beautiful, and I had an amazing time exploring it with them. It's been a while since we've done that, so I think really any space in any platform is a step forward, and let's just see kind of what we can come up with. I think experimentation here is totally appropriate.
Hey,
can I just come in on that with the OpenSim space and why that was there? This is Austin.
Hi, yes.
So I really was thinking of this more as a meeting space and hangout space to actually use, as opposed to an interoperability demonstrator, because there isn't really the means for interoperability currently in OpenSim. Although folks like Mr. Metaverse no, not Mr. Metaverse, the guy who's from Mr. Blue, the chap, ex-IBM chap. He's actually experimenting with some GLTF types of movement of material in and out of OpenSim. So it's possible that it could be interoperability demos later. But really, this has come from a set of assets that were done in a project with the US government about 10 years ago. So this design of this collaboration facility was for a US Army research lab.
That looked familiar.
Yeah, it's been around quite a while. I'm at the University of Edinburgh, and we were the people who built this with a set of artists and 3D designers. So it's been around about 10 years, and it's meant to be an open source, freely accessible set of resources that can be tailored to anybody's collaboration requirements. But all I did was really repurpose a version that we use at the university for our own get-togethers, hangouts, and so on. That's why it's got informal hangouts like campfires and little picnic tables and so on, as well as more formal things for us to do demonstrations or have expositions for projects. So we use it for EU projects and American projects to demonstrate things, as well as having a 50 or 60 seat amphitheatre, which is about the maximum that the servers can cope with concurrently when people get together in a meeting space on this one region. Cool. So that's where it was, and it isn't, I wasn't seeing it as a sole thing as Ivo and others have said. It's meant to just be one example of a facility that could be useful, and it's there. Anybody could use it now and just go in. It would need a little bit of tailoring from a missions point of view.
Of course.
If we used it seriously. At the moment, it's pretty open, and most people could just literally drop in and meet if they wanted, and it would kind of work. Most of the screens would work. But if it got used, you would have to close it down a little bit so it didn't get misused. Yeah.
Right. And so it seems like we're moving toward a strategy of connected spaces across a number of platforms. We're going to need a place to organize that. And then thinking about how we move between those spaces is part of this open R&D effort that we can invite other people to participate in. Is that what I'm hearing, that moving toward a multi-platform R&D strategy that is open, that is participatory, that invites all types of potential engagement. Now, I want to follow up with, some of you have been doing some really amazing R&D in this space that maybe isn't necessarily wanting to be ready for prime time. And I want to make sure that we create both sort of public and easy accessible spaces, and also thinking about sort of quieter skunk works, the sort of rooms behind the rooms, because down the road, we're going to want both types of engagement. We're going to want small, quiet places to test things, and we're going to want connected spaces, potentially across many platforms at once. So this is really exciting. We have the beginnings of an invitation to participate that we can open up to the greater community here.
One thing I would bring up is there is that a cautionary thing, but basically, a few weeks ago, Philip Rosedale announced he was going to be on Twitter Spaces to talk to some people, and somebody then came in and they connected that to Clubhouse and something else that's on the phone. Then somebody contacted me and said, "Can we set this up in Second Life?" And instead of being a discussion on interfacing, which is what Philip had asked for, it ended up being like a bit of a fan fest. But the real problem was that so many things were interconnected together that it was impossible to know who was where and what you were meant to do where. I mean, the people in Second Life, for example, were talking through an avatar's open mic into, I think it was Twitter Spaces, and that was being duplicated into Clubhouse. And quite frankly, each participant was actually either in Clubhouse or Twitter or Meetup or Second Life, whatever. There were about 4 or 5, and in any given environment, you couldn't see the contributors from the other environments. You could, with a bit of luck, hear them, but a voice will come on, and unlike here where I can see my name or your name highlighted so I know who's talking, it became very unmanageable.
Yes.
So, I mean,
Yeah, I think
there are
you're
things like I use OpenSim and Discord together, for example. But taking it further than that, gets really chaotic.
you're bringing up great points that we'll want to include in R&D, and we should definitely log those so that we can test some of these ideas for, multi-platform engagement, but also just for being able to have participatory experiences together. I want to make sure we stick to our agenda today, and thank you for everyone who's been providing really great ideas for how to move forward on various stages of the R&D process here. Were there other notes on the website that we needed to include? I wanted to make sure that we got everything there on the agenda side before we bring in the other working groups.
Just to make sure that we do make us an area where these OMI spaces, or whatever we call them, can be linked, Evo.
Agreed. And we need to log that somewhere in our Git likely so that we have just a repo of where all these spaces are, so that everyone can access them together.
And maybe just an entry, a line to say who you contact to get an entry put on there.
A point of contact would be a great idea. You're absolutely correct. And whether we organize that in Airtable or just in the Git, we should figure that piece of the data management out too.
Yep.
Cool. Next up is the website group itself. Did we have a meeting this last week? I know it's every other week. It was kind of blocked in the interoperator group, which should have met. I couldn't meet that day.
Actually, Mr. Metaverse, do you want to share a little bit on this?
Yeah, that was a good day. We took notes, I think, right? Did we share our notes out? Oh yeah, we probably created an issue and everything for it, but let me see. See if this comes up. Well, I don't know. I guess I can kind of spitball it a little bit, but I thought we took some notes. There we go. Yeah, thank you. And there it is. So we met and we wanted to kick off this project. It's come up several times, right? Like this concept of interoperator or something. It's been called many things. And one of our members from Futurist Foundation, Isaac, proposed that we consider maybe having like a Friends of the Open Metaverse or partners. Our website group in one of their design iterations had considered adding logos to some of the companies and organizations and groups that are contributing to OMI and just kind of giving them a shout out. And in all of these cases, we kind of checked ourselves to be like, all right, like, is this fair? Like, how do we set a standard for who can or can't? Like, what do we mean by a friend of OMI, or what would an interoperator be? So, because it's such a big concept and it would be really important, right, to bridging relationships and kind of championing the cause, we voted to form a group that would conduct open conversation and essentially, really take this seriously rather than just slapping a bunch of logos on the website. So it's kind of the background on it. When we met, we talked about a lot of stuff. As you can see, we talked a bit about like what would partnerships look like what would a friend of ours look like, and what would some of those qualifiers potentially look like. The conversation also discussed what potential collaborators, like who are some exemplars, right? And then what was probably most, I think, notable of this particular meeting, because it was our first one, right, was when we would call something out that seemed like it could potentially be out of scope for OMI itself, rather than simply arguing or saying like, is it out of scope or not, we would call out another group that it might be in scope for. And this kind of raises a really important point about OMI that like if we don't have the resources, for example, to run and plan hackathons, but we as a group believe that hackathons are good for the metaverse, we don't have to run and plan a hackathon by ourselves. We could and should consider partnering with or supporting another group that is in the open metaverse who does run hackathons, right? So in short, after long, we kicked off. We just got this conversation started, and Evo, how often did you plan to meet? I believe we said this is like an ad hoc group.
Last
so
Friday of the month. Last Friday of the
Yes.
month, with a morning time, hopefully to a time that's going to work for our European friends as well, because I think we were mostly North American on this one. One thing that came out of this meeting was that generally we associate partnership with some exchange of money or technology, right? So if we are asking for companies to participate in helping us do the next stage of R&D by giving us server space, that might be the type of language that would require a partnership agreement. And so that's the sort of next stage, is figuring out what does the language of relationship look like at all stages and levels. Who are our colleagues? Who potentially are our partners? Right now, we do not have corporate partners, but we do have people who participate in our community who represent those relationships. Obviously, we need to do the strategic mapping exercise next, and then some of these other pieces will fall into place as far as our next steps and our long-term thinking. Like, how do we want to work with all of the other players in our industry effectively? And I want to apologize. I'm going to be here in this meeting, but muted, because I'm supposed to also be in another meeting at the same time for other folks in our industry. And this is something that's starting to come up quite a bit, right? We have a lot of these sort of overlaps that we need to make sure we are making clear for people so that they can see that it is something that is moving together instead of moving in obviously 100 directions at once. We are doing both at the same time, and that's a very interesting and difficult dynamic to communicate, right? How we relate to companies, nonprofit organizations, individuals who participate or who don't participate here, right? We just want to make sure we're really clear about that, and making sure that our language matches on the website and across all of our channels is the next step. So you can definitely participate last Friday of the month. We're going to look for the right time. That was currently, I think, at 9 or 9:30 in the morning.
All right. So this March 11th, I don't think that's it. It's some other Friday. And look at that on the calendar.
Oh goodness, we did go to every 2 weeks, didn't we, Jesse? Because there was so much to deal with because of I think that was what we had front loaded at one point.
No, for now, like I think we put it. I think at least we'll do it every other week until
we can get off of it.
Okay, so we'll just get the meeting on there for the 11th as well.
Cool, thank you.
Okay.
Real quick note: the backlog is squeaky clean. It's not perfect, but it's squeaky clean, which I'm pretty proud of. So, for folks who want to get involved, we still are doing I think it's the third or fourth Tuesday of every month. It's on our main README. I encourage you to get involved. Shout out to the scripting group and the GLTF group for writing, and the website group for writing tickets.
Trying to close them too. Cool. Yeah, with that, we got the Omi Wesson group. Or sorry, Omi Chan group. Which I've got up here.
Is there anybody here else in the Ome Chan group?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I wasn't at the meeting last week, so I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it looks like there hasn't been any updates since our last week.
I was throwing an idea out about doing blog posts, something like that. I'm in a discussion on it, but I don't know. And then I've also got a lot of info that I need to dump. I just am not really sure where. And also I have a regular job, so I don't have all the time I want anymore. But yeah, they're doing some stuff cool. Yeah, that's what they're doing, whatever you're looking at.
It's like a comic book. Cool. Alright, well, we'll check back in next week then. The Wasm group, the name of the WASM group, which I already have seen the feedback on. We'll discuss that more next week. We had about 5 people in our meeting, and we voted to change the name to the OMI scripting group to better reflect the purpose of the group. But we might need a word that's even more narrow on some of the things that we're working on here, as has been noted in the channel after the meeting. Other things that happened in the meeting, well, we have our new README complete with our statement of work, I already forgot what it's called. Blanking on it. I'll go to the notes. Our working agreement. And then, so that's up there. We've got all the code of conduct, the W3C bot is set up, license, contributing document, and all that good stuff is in the repository. So that's there. Things to note, we are shortening our meetings to 30 minutes. We have a lot of work that's like preceding a lot of the scripting work at each of our respective companies. So we're all just kind of meeting for a little bit of time each week just to keep in sync. But a lot of the demos are kind of predicated on other things going on in each of our respective teams. So yeah, we'll be meeting for 30 minutes, 1630 to 1700 DTC on Tuesdays for the next couple weeks, and then we'll jump back to a 1 hour long meeting as soon as we're ready for that. Other things. Yeah, I guess we just gave a little bit of an update. I mean, I'm still working the 3GS implementation. It's kind of, it's not that far away, but there are a lot of things to make it close to the implementation that I'd like to propose, and so that's a lot of work getting all that set up. We're, I mean, still in the very experimental stages, so if you have an idea of how you'd like this API to be shaped, definitely come and join in. Adam is working on, or has worked on a scripting implementation already that's with Lua, and he gave an example of an entire like first-person shooter game that disregard all these .txt files. They're all Lua files actually, but it has a bunch of code that we can look at, and as an example of a scripting API that he'd like to port over to WASM. So it gives us just like a good idea of things that we do need to support. And if other people have examples of like UGC scripting APIs that they think would be a good fit for us to try and reproduce in some way, shape, or form, definitely submit that. Just like dump it in an issue or discussion here on the OMI scripting group, or paste the link in the chat there. I know there's a bunch out there, but we want to start looking at a wide variety of different APIs for inspiration. I think that's it from the WASM group. From the GLTF group, a little bit more. We had a proposal for dynamic text elements, and we kind of decided to see if we could work with an existing extension. There's this Moz text extension that one of my former coworkers at Mozilla created. It's kind of in line with a lot of the SDF text renderers for 3JS, and it also has a Blender add-on that's existing, so that's kind of exciting. And we're talking about the different categories of things that you might want in a GLTF, whether it be like debug or geometry or sign distance fields for rendering different text types. So if you want it to be like a 3D shape with volume versus just like a flat texture, you could be able to do that. And yeah, so we'll continue working and looking into that. That proposal is getting started. This one, Norbert Knopper, one of the members of the Kronos GLTF group, has submitted a PR with their implementation. It's a C++ implementation of the audio emitter, as well as a bunch of little spec updates. We just need to guide him through the CLA process and we can get this merged. We've got a proposal that's kind of dealing with content security. So when you're dealing with mixed media, like we have like images and all sorts of other URIs that are pointed to within a GLTF, and there's lots of like ways of handling external resources inside of HTML and JS right now, but not within GLTF. So we've been talking about, okay, do we have some sort of way of signing external resources so you know if they've changed, like enhanced content security to know that like someone isn't taking over another server that you're linking at and changing the content, or making it so that your platform doesn't load external resources, which is something that we have in the web today with CSP policies and things like that. Sorry if this is going into the weeds a little bit. OMI emitter, we kind of skipped over some stuff there. We're still like, I merged in a bunch of PRs that Anthony submitted pull requests for. So we changed just like one property and we had to propagate that across all of our repos, but they're all up to date now except for the validator, which I'll get to very shortly. So if you go and check out the OMI GLTF transform, it works with the most recent version of Mozilla Spoke, which is good. We've got 3 OMI updated to fit the spec, and it also works against the latest 3.js version. Yeah, and I think it's just those 2. The collider, we talked about a little bit more. We might want to split up this work a little bit. We've got, there's a lot going on here. We've got the Ome Collider Extension as well as the Ome Physics Body Extension. And the Collider Extension is pretty well specified. It's like defining collision volumes that could be boxes or cylinders or holes or meshes. And you can then apply different behaviors to that collider, whether it's like a physics body or not. And that those physics properties are kind of a large rabbit hole that we maybe don't need to go down in order to get the Ome Collider out the door. Basically, the collider by itself offers a lot of help to people who are building new scenes. They can use it for trigger volumes, or they can use it for like static colliders without having to dive into all the things that you need for rigid bodies in physics, which is like friction and mass and all sorts of other things that like have to do with like moving physics objects, whether it's kinematic or dynamic, all that. So we'll talk more about that at the next meeting if you're interested in that. Make sure you attend. Lots of comments and feedback coming down around this proposal, so that's starting to solidify a little bit more. What else? I think that was basically it. Let me check the notes below. Jen has been working on an Avatar Interop group, and we want to see if we can like work with them on like how we connect better with artists and their pipelines for creating avatars. So in the GLTF working group, we're really focused on the like technical side of like the standards. We do some tooling, like we have the GLTF Blender add-on and some other things, but we really want to make sure that we're meeting the needs of different avatar artists and things like that. And Jen's going to be running a Avatar Interop group. It met once or twice already, but they're going to work on that further and have some additional meetups and work shops that we can learn from. And yeah, I think that's it. Any questions? That was a lot. I think with that we have some extra time here. Jesse, did you want to lead this part? Sounds like you've got a conversation that you'd like to have.
Yeah, happy to do it. I don't know. Yeah, so the first bullet here is that I am going to host a retrospective on Monday. It'll be OMI wide, so it's open. Anyone can come from any working group. This is a great time to share what's going well, what maybe hasn't gone well, or could be improved, and then what we would like to try moving forward. Then we can propose any of those action items in next Wednesday if anything like good comes out of it. But it's just about having like a foundation for iteration. I have been hesitant about having a OMI wide retro just because like we all have different time zones. Some people are working certain working groups and not others. I've been highly big advocate of each working group adopting some type of retro cadence, but it's not for everyone. And not everyone knows how to do it, or not everyone has the same appreciation for it that I do, and that's okay. So I realized that I should make it available because not everyone is always comfortable speaking up in public in groups like this, or maybe they don't know the forum or the proper time to share this type of feedback. So having a retro, it is really, really great, and I mean it's really productive, and I think it'll be great to have on Monday. So anyone who can come, I'll feel free. I'll share more of the details soon, and then you can add it to your calendar by clicking that link there. And then if since we do have enough extra time, if you all would like, we can set up a quick lean coffee style. We've only got about 20 minutes, so I'm not sure how fast our lean coffee would go. Maybe we can just do like an open conversation. What do you think, Robert? Would you rather me set up a quick lean coffee, or do you guys want to just self-moderate ourselves?
I think we can self-moderate.
I think so too. The way this conversation started was self-moderated, so I mean the whole meeting started, so I think we could probably pick up on some of that.
But if you do have things that you want to talk about and we get deep in the weeds, just throw things in the text chat and we can moderate there as well.
Yeah. Anybody need help with anything? Got an event coming up? Maybe something you need tested? Something you're blocked on? Like, we rarely have time left. We usually talk till the very end. So what you got, OMI?
Need time. I need more time in the day. I need more energy.
Yeah. All on that.
Tomorrow is the meta traversal meeting, and I still don't know like where the public links are to these sorts of things, but there's a bunch of like industry people who are going to be attending, and I'm speaking along with Evo. Is there anything that people would like me to introduce the rest of the like industry to as far as OMI goes? Is there things that you want to get out in front of other people?
Make sure they know VRM exists.
Okay.
That is really a big thing. Like, I think it's going to be very serious going forward that, as an internet person, you'll have your avatar that you commissioned or you made yourself, and you'll do the needful to have it in FBX and OBJ and VRM. That way you can put it right online and go into VR and the games and whatever.
Make sure I do that. It's also, I'll be speaking on a panel with Neil Trevitt from the Kronos Group, and Neil and the rest of the Kronos Group are well informed about VRM. They've been kind of loosely working with them.
I was going to say, are they like on the consortium even? I feel like I saw there, like there's a list of people on it, but whatever.
I don't know the relationship with Kronos and VRM, but some of the members are a member of members of the VRM consortium.
That gives me some life, thank you.
Maybe we could do like a workshop. I know, like, y'all know I like demo nights and demo days and sharing our knowledge, but I'd love to see like a community generator workshop on rigging your own or modifying a VRM. I'd like to see something fun like building a world, like these little tiny content snippets. Actually, I know Evo's in another call, so I'm going to channel my Evo, but we could, I just feel like it could like check a lot of boxes all at once, kill multiple birds with one stone, if you will. If like we share our knowledge, document it, I don't know, it'd be fun. There's things that I know I would like to learn, and I know that folks in our community know, and I know it can be a heavy lift, but I think it's a fun idea. Maybe do another demo night or something.
Sounds like Anthony's doing some streams on editing VRM. I'd really like to learn more about that. I can barely rig avatars, and then animation I don't really want to get into. So just being able to rig it to like I'm spacing Mixamo skeleton, and just use those animations would be nice.
Yeah, it'd be cool to like do like a bake night, right? Where it's like somebody like leads the conversation, maybe shows like basics of rigging, and maybe we all start with the same base model or something to that effect, and then kind of all make our own avatars.
Did that at the OMI meeting a couple weeks ago, and actually it would be good to like practice going through it more, and then you can say, hey, X so day, you want to come on over and we're going to walk through turning your avatar you got into a VRM. And I stumbled over doing it, but I'd eventually get it down, and then other people could also workshop. But yeah, I don't know how to rig and stuff. I just know how to do the needful to get it on the internet.
Yeah, I had a really hard laugh. Like Fire and I were talking probably 3-4 months ago, and they took like my Ready Player Me avatar and they rigged it for VRM. It took like maybe 10 minutes. I could be wrong. Maybe 20 minutes.
It's arbitrary, honestly, to switch an existing, like if it's already rigged, it's already got blend shapes. It's just like wham bam, there you go, VRM.
Yeah, they showed me how to do it. We like re-rigged it, and then what was awesome was that the VSky team has like this script that could make my character do like really fun dances, and that was a really small room. It was only like a few of us in the room. That's the type of thing I think would be really fun to do together,
Maybe I can jump in here since it seemed like there was a bit of time, if that's okay. I'm Frederick Calgary. I'm not a regular participant in the meetings. I jump in when I every moment I've got some time. I just wanted to share. I'll put it in the chat. I hope it's the right place. Just we're architects, but we do a lot of speculative work and kind of propositional work about virtual spaces in the metaverse, focusing on portals and the design of portals. And we do quite a lot of lectures and engagement in the space of like design and architecture. And we do actually very often mention Omni as like the kind of spearhead of kind of trying to figure this out. So I mentioned that like in this presentation here on the Zine, which is one of the biggest design websites in the world, we do mention Omni, and like so also maybe as a question that would be great, since we do not participate regularly, like where is the best source to that kind of the website perhaps, but if there's any other source for people that are curious what Omni is doing in the space of like design and architecture that we should be directing people to.
I mean, just directing people to our Discord and these meetings would be really helpful. Is there more specific like communities that you're trying to direct them to?
No, yes, I guess more like the people that are curious, they often ask like, okay, so like, is there a kind of summary, like a kind of digestible place where you can get the sort of overview over what the kind of core, this is very, very good, the sort of summary there. But like, if there's like
I would say it's there, and then our GitHub has like different things about the different work that we're working on. If you link them to this as well, like it's got some more details about the different working groups and things like that. I'll put that link in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked that. That's one of our new tidyings of the repo is we're trying to get better about like when we do form a working group and a working group becomes active, having like a digest of like what that working group is, how to get involved, when they meet, even if they don't use GitHub to manage the tickets or any of that stuff, at very least having that type of summary. And so you can kind of consider the OMI group /OMI group repo, the README that's there, like the README of READMEs that kind of is meant to link out to the other efforts that are happening. And feel free to share like any of those repos anytime. And I'll actually, this article that you shared looks really awesome. I haven't been able to watch the video yet, but I'll make sure that we share this out too and help raise some awareness. Looks really cool.
Great, thanks. Yeah, we often get sort of response from people that are designers that mightn't even know what GitHub or even Discord is. We realize that like somehow, even if we're very close, the barriers to the platforms we use is quite big sometimes. Obviously, the website is the place that people go to then. So that's great. Thanks.
It also outlines maybe we need to get a little bit more of this information up there, especially the working groups section here. We've got it on our calendar, but you can get that up on another page. Anyone else have topics that we want? We got like 10 more minutes here. I've got one more thing that I can share for web folks if you want to see. I recently have been trying to do, I don't know, just trying to make things a little bit prettier in 3JS land, and I came across Don McCurdy's work on light probe volumes, which if you're familiar with irradiance volumes in Blender or wherever else, or in Unity if you remember light probes and reflection probes, well, this kind of like starts to get these sorts of concepts into 3JS, which is really, really helpful because people want fast but very portable lighting for mobile devices especially, but also just for your own use on the desktop. Use less resources on real-time lighting and more on other things. So Don created a demo here of a light probe volume, and as you can see, it's kind of hard to see. Let me move this around. But this sphere is like changing light as it's changing its like. And what's cool about this is there's no real-time lights in here. It's really, really cheap. It's just moving through all this. All these spheres that you're seeing in the foreground are like pre-computing lighting values. So someone baked all this out, and then now it's like pre-computed, and it just like interpolates between all these things. So we can start getting real-time lighting inside of web experiences on really low-end devices using this technique. It's not a new technique. It's been around for a long time, but it hasn't been in 3JS. And I'm going to try and see if I can get this more mature and package it up as a library for other people. At the same time, the Hubs team, if you go down this thread, I'll link this whole thing. The whole Hubs team has been working on getting reflection probes in place. So if you check out their example, they've got this duck going around a hub space, which you might be familiar with, and as they move between these different rooms, the reflection map changes. And so if we combine these techniques, we get something that's really similar to baked lighting in Unity. light mats, light probes, and reflection probes, and with all that, you can have a whole bunch of pre-computed lighting data that you don't have to do on the fly, and I think it'll make everything look a lot nicer. So, I don't know, that's what I have to share.
It's funny, it's like how they do the lights in Doom.
They do this all over the place. It's
Yeah.
We've been left behind in the web ecosystem for a long time, so
We're just
I
so
think it's really
spoiled on computers being good.
yeah.
In a similar vein, did you see the release from, I think, Pi does code of the LTCGI mod for VR chat last week? It's really pretty.
No, do you remember that?
Yeah, let me post it in the chat. It's just really beautiful real-time area lighting for VR chat and generally for Unity projects. Let me just
LTC, what does that stand for?
LTCGI. It's a linearly transformed cosine algorithm.
Okay.
I'll just dig up the link and post it. Give me a second.
And is that pre-computer, or is that real-time, like ray trace sort of stuff?
It's real-time, but inexpensive, or relatively inexpensive.
Yeah. I've also seen, like, Godot has signed distance field global illumination. So there's that, and then, of course, NVIDIA is doing their, like, ray trace global illumination and things like that. So. Global illumination, for people who don't know, is like the indirect lighting that you have in a scene. So it's all the like background lighting, the bounce light between like the color of the side of a building and the floor below it, all that sort of stuff that's really hard to do real time. And when people do real time stuff, it's like it's very impressive, and if it's inexpensive, then it adds a lot to the realism of a scene. And then it allows you to like change the time of day or move around lights and all that sort of stuff.
Okay, just post it.
Oops. Oh, cool. So it's like sampling the texture of the screen and then applying that to things around it. I'll have to check this out more. That's very cool. I've seen a similar thing done. I've seen oh, it popped me out of screen sharing. Sorry about that. I've seen a similar thing happen in 3JS where someone was doing like a video element, and then in the theater they were like sampling the texture of the screen, and they were like projecting the lights on the walls around them. So that was pretty cool. Kind of similar to this, but.
Do you have a link to that one, the 3JS implementation? I was looking for something similar recently.
Let me see if I can find it.
I presume this LTCGI must be all completely kind of purely shader based, otherwise you wouldn't be able to use it with VR chat, right? You can't just ship arbitrary code with your worlds.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't find it right now. I'll let you know if it pops up, but yeah, I don't see it right now. But I think how it works is it like samples a bunch of points on the video texture as it's rendering it, and then like uses that to calculate like spherical harmonic values, or like I don't know, maybe like a dynamic light. I don't know how it does multiple colors though, so maybe it just has multiple.
Usually you have multiple
lights.
lights with you have a red light, a green light, a blue light.
Mm-hmm.
You just modulate those based on what's coming out of the probes
Yeah.
or samplings.
Anyways. Yep, it's cool. We're getting cheaper global illumination, which is super, super useful for all these experiences, especially as we're like trying to do stuff that is user generated. It's really hard to do that where you have to like bake all the lighting, and you want like collaborative editing and things like that. It just gets really complicated. So
it's worth visiting that offline world that I just posted in the chat. The video doesn't do it justice in terms of the reflections and the lighting in there. It's really, really beautiful.
oh yeah, wow. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check this out. I've seen this person's work before too. Do some really crazy stuff. Involved. Cool. Well, I think with that we can wrap up, and we will see you all next week.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Goodbye.
Have a great day, everyone.